We're going to make some fried polenta. And I'm using sharp cheddar cheese, opposed to what normally people put in there is Parmesan. Butter, which is normal. Garlic, it's done. Onions are done. Yellow cornmeal. But what's different about this one, I'm putting fresh corn in there. But first what I'm going to do to the corn is put it into the chicken stock and simmer it for about a half hour. And that'll be my stock, chicken stock with corn. So it'll be a corn and chicken stock I'm using to cook the polenta instead of regular chicken stock or water or cream or milk, what have you. This is the route that I'm taking on this. So I'll dice up the onions, saute it in the garlic with the butter. We'll add the cornmeal, and then we'll pour in the chicken corn stock into the mix. The corn is ready, so now we'll sweat up the onions and garlic and butter. You can look up and spend an hour looking at recipes for polenta and see the different ways people make it. I do the same thing. But then I say, okay, I don't want anything plain. I want to be a little different. Plus I want to make it taste good. And you know, when the origins of polenta go so far back, I would assume that it wasn't, it was a dish of the poor people. So we're not poor today, so we can alter the recipes, but it's still polenta made with cornmeal. It can have the cheese in it or not. It could be eaten creamy, like grits with breakfast, or it can be made the way I'm making it today, to be fried with tomato sauce, which I think looks great on the plate and tastes. I don't want to forget the red pepper flakes. It's not a lot. If you like it hot, put more. If you don't want to use red pepper flakes, don't. Put plain pepper. We sweat this up until it's translucent. Nice and easy. Moderate flame. Not to brown it. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of sea salt and then later taste it. If I have to add more, you'll see the adjustment on the recipe. And now 4 cups of the stock that we had, which of course we started off with 4 cups of chicken stock, but it reduced somewhat, so that's no problem. We'll just put the rest water. 1, 2, 3, and I'll finish this up with water, cold water. I don't like to use hot water. I'd rather make my water hot. Now we'll pour in the polenta and we will whisk it. And every few minutes you have to stir it to make sure we don't have lumps. So while I'm using this, it's wet, so it's not all of it will come out, but I will rinse it in there. Bring it to a quick boil and then lower it and let it simmer and just mix it every few minutes. Once it becomes too thick to mix with a whip, then I'll use my my wooden spoon. Come to a boil, reduce the flame, let it simmer, cook it. We're going to cook it for about 12 minutes. We'll set the timer. I'll check it. It could be done in 10 minutes. But I always like to set the timer first. There you go. I'm also going to add the corn, which I just cut off the cob, now and not later. So I can take my whip and break up the corn before this gets too thick. Then it'll be a pain in the neck to do later. And then I'm going to add fresh parsley to this as soon as it's done, along with the cheese. You can use the coarse yellow cornmeal, but I don't think this one was. This is the medium. And that should break up all the corn, as you can see. Now, if you were going to just use this as like a breakfast cereal, you can add another cup of stock or water to it and it'll be thin. But since we're making a cut and fried item, but not deep fried, it's really sauteed, you have to have it a little thicker. There, we'll let that cook. It'll get thicker and be just right. And we'll taste it for salt. Good enough. And make sure you use a nice thick bottom pot. This is aluminum. Nothing's going to stick to this. If you use those tinny type pots, you're going to run into a problem. And when I tasted this for salt, I picked up the flavor of the corn that was boiled. So we have a nice corn stock in here also. Which, why did I do that? I said, well, if we're using corn, just like when you're making a meat dish or a poultry dish and you're making a sauce, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to use the bones to make the stock that that animal came from. So I'm doing the same thing here. This is cornmeal. Where does it come from? It comes from corn. So cook the corn. Get the stock. Get a little different flavor. And I would say a better flavor. This is a non-traditional way of making polenta. So just keep mixing it like that, cooking it slow. Well, our time is up for cooking, and now we'll add the cheese. Just keeping the flame on low while this is blended well. And also put into here the parsley. It's not a lot. I put it in only for color. You could put scallions in here too. You want to add heavy cream, take some of the stock out, put heavy cream in its place, go right ahead. Like there are many, many variations. I'm going to pour this into a greased pan I'm going to put parchment paper in there. Allow it to cool 5-6 hours until it's hard, or even overnight. Now that's hot and thick, so you know how it's going to be when it's cold. It'll be cuttable. Then I'll coat it with a little cornmeal. Either put butter or oil in the skillet and give it a nice golden brown color. That's it. This step is done. So the next step is kind of tricky. It all depends on how thick you want the polenta to be, the slices that you're going to make. So first you have to pick the pan. If it's going to be larger than this, well, let's see how this looks. I'm just guessing that this is correct. So first I'm oiling the sheet, only because when I turn this over, this will come right off and nothing will be stuck. And next is to pour the polenta in there. I am not done, but that's perfect. I'm going to have slices that are just about almost an inch thick, I would assume. And we want to get the rest of this out of there. And seeing how thick it is now, it's going to be perfect. So I'm going to smooth this out, and I'm going to put a piece of saran wrap on top. Put this in the refrigerator. This will take many hours to cool down and firm up. So my suggestion is to make it the day before, make it at night, then the next day you're ready. And as soon as you see the edges browning a little, you know it's time to turn it. Now, you don't have to make it this thick. You can make half the thickness, whatever you like. You would just put it into a larger pan when you're cooling it off. I like it thick like this. And then you turn them. And what you can also do, use a non-stick pan, which this isn't, it would work a little better. Then after you get color on this side, put them into a casserole dish and wait till later, and then just heat them up in the oven. So once they're brown on that side, take them out and finishing the rest. Then we'll make a plate and see how nice it looks. So now, since I changed the pan I'm using, as you see, it's working perfect. I assumed that the stainless steel pan was going to be good, but you never know. So I'll just keep on going like this until I'm done. It'll take me about another 10 minutes. I have quite a few. While the last batch is cooking, this is what I came up with already. Oh, there were 2 pieces missing. I was eating them as I was cooking. Just one of those things. So I'm going to put 2 pieces on a plate. And this will be my part of my dinner aside from my salad. Put some tomato sauce. You don't want to cover these completely because they're nice and golden brown. And there you go. Enjoy. And if you like, you can also sprinkle a little Parmesan cheese. Now that looks better. So I covered it with saran wrap, clear film, whatever you call it. It already has a little skin on it. See, it's not even sticking. But since I'm in a rush, I'm going to put this in the freezer. Well, I had it in the freezer for a couple hours, then I put it in the refrigerator, and there it is, nice and firm. So now we take it, turn it out onto a board. It's nice and thick. Now there's a couple of ways you can cut it. And different sizes too. You take a glass, if you want them round, and just go like so. Nice thick round piece. Okay, now if you want it square, you'll just cut square pieces, like so. I should say rectangular. You're not going to waste any either, okay? And then, since it's coming close to not St. Patty's Day, to Valentine's Day, we take this cookie cutter. This is not easy because it's not that high, and press it down all the way. And there you have a heart-shaped one. You can also cut it and make diamonds. I personally like the round. So, and I think you have less of a loss. Not that we're going to lose it. We're just going to cut as many round as we can. And then we're going to put it together, squish it together, make it real tight, and then cut some more. And we'll see how many we come out with. Now we'll just take what is left and put it into the same dish that it came from. And just using a little pressure, just fold that over and do the best you can by just squeezing that to about the same thickness. Or what you can do is thin it out with stock and water, bring it to a boil, and have it for breakfast. But I don't want to waste any of this or go through that, so I am going to make more this way. So there you go. Not as perfect as the other ones, but still, and after it's cooked, after we coat it and it's cooked, almost like dough. Well, that's the best I can do. I'm going to form this again, and this time put oil on the glass. So with the left, to make it easier now, without pressing and trying to do what I did, put it on saran wrap and make this nice and tight, make it into like a log. Since that is done, then I'll just take the knife and cut pieces. And go like so. Much easier than trying the other way. Now we'll go about sauteing these little things. Put some oil in there. I use olive oil. You can use a mixture of olive oil and butter if you want. That way the butter won't burn and you get the flavor of the butter. And a moderate flame. And we're going to dip just very easily, so I get a little crusty outside. Just dip this in the cornmeal and place it in there. Very simple. A moderate flame. These should brown up very nicely. Oh, okay, let's see how many we made from this batch. So if you were serving this, you can serve this as an appetizer. One is really enough per person. Well, 2 for a dinner, or 3 if you're really hungry. So we have 3, 13, 14, about the equivalent to about 16, which is very good. Notice, not sticking, very nice. Moderate flame, why? Because we want to get this heat throughout.